Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bookworm Diaries. My name is Lindy. If you are here for the first time, please don't forget to subscribe. If you're back again, thank you so much for staying. And yeah, please tell your friends to subscribe as well. Please don't forget to subscribe. All right, so it's month 5. And guess what? We on our 5th book for the year. I promised you 12 books this year. So I'm on my 5th book. And you remember I bought the book last week. And it's called A Thousand Splendid Suns. So this book is 406 pages long. I thought it would take me forever to finish. But wow, I absolutely couldn't put it down. It was just so interesting from page 1. It's such a page turner. Like you finish one chapter and you want to know what happens next. That's how interesting the book is. I think it took me under a week to finish this book. That's because I have work. Other than that, if I didn't have a job, I'd literally have read this book within maybe 3 days. That's how interesting it is. I don't have a lot of books by male authors. Most of my books are written by female authors. I just enjoy their writing, and I enjoy how they're sensitive to issues that I feel strongly about. So we'll discuss the book in a minute, but oh man, get yourself this book. Like if you were doubting it, if you're thinking, should I get it, should I not get it, I'm telling you now, go get this book. It is like so interesting, like you won't regret it. So yeah, let's get into it without giving too much away. I'm just gonna touch on a couple of stories. So the main character, Miriam, Miriam is born out of wedlock. So her father was married with 3 wives and I think 9 other children, and she was the 10th one. And her father was cheating with the help, and that's how Miriam was conceived. So she was an illegitimate child. So Vele, the father, Miriam was not staying with Ubabake, so the father used to visit her and her mother like once a week. So Thursdays was days that the father used to go visit Miriam, and she used to look forward to these days. Like this is one day that she used to look forward to in a week. So she sort of like had this, when you're a child and you see your parent like once a week, and you're thinking they're like the best thing that's ever happened to you because they bring you gifts when they come to see you. They bring you gifts, and they took walks, and she just had this thing with my father is just untouchable. He's this sweet man. And her mother used to badmouth Baba. Guys, no, this guy is always lying to you, and like she used to talk badly about Miriam's father, and so she thought my mother is just bitter, and that's what I thought initially as well when I read the book. And I was like, why do mothers have to be bitter? If it didn't work out with you and the father, just don't be bitter. Can't you know? So this one time, the father promised to come to visit Miriam, and he didn't show up. So Miriam decided to go to her father's house. So she went there. It was 2 kilometers away from her house. She went to see her father. So when she got to his house, she knocked and no one opened. She was at the gates, and I think one of the father's drivers came, and they were like, no, your father is not here, he's out on business. And she insisted, it was, no, I'm gonna wait for him. And guess what? She waited and no one opened. She stayed there. She refused to leave. She stayed there and she slept outside. Okay, before she left her mother's house, her mother said to her, if you were to leave, I would kill him. I would die if you were to leave. And so she thought, my mother is just being dramatic. I think at that time she was like early teens, 13 or 14. So she left to see her father. No one would open for her. And then she stayed outside the gate the whole night, refusing to go. So the next morning, this one of the drivers comes to her and says, "You're still here? Please come. Let me take you back home. Your father is not coming." And so I don't know how the gate opened. So she just ran inside the house, the yard, and she saw her father, like she saw the curtain opening and ubabake is standing there. So all this time they're lying that the father is not there and ubabake is there. And yo, she was so hurt. Ukuthi, this man let me sit outside the whole night and she wouldn't open for me because his wives are there, his children are there. So obviously all the things that my mother has been telling me are true about my father. My father doesn't really doesn't care about me. Like, he just spares that one day to come see me, but he just wasn't willing to let me go inside the house and be with the rest of the family. So she was so hurt and she was crying and she decided to go back home. So the driver took her back home. When she gets home, her mother had hung herself. She gets there was a tree there and her mother had hung herself. Yo, this was only the beginning. Remember, this child is born out of wedlock, and like her whole life she has never received uthando. The old, like, uba umamake was bitter, and even though like they were very close with the mother, but nje the things that she used to uba umamake never used to build her, like nje she never really got uthando lomntana lo. Like, so now at 14 her mother has killed herself and she had just discovered ukuthi ubabakhe akamfuni, like ubabakhe is embarrassed of her, like. So the mother died, they buried the mother, and so she then went to her father. Babake, obviously now the true colors are coming out. All the things that Umamake used to tell her about her father, she can see now. Well, this man actually never really loved me, because the minute her mother died, they decided to marry her off to a man that old enough to be her father. And she was crying, begging her father, would say, please don't do this, don't do this. And the father just sold her off, like, I think like a place far from where they were living. And from there her life just was never the same. This man was just bitter, this man was abusive, this man was firstly, it seemed like no, they would be fine. He was just okay tolerating her, and then she got pregnant. And when she got pregnant, he had this thing which it had to be a boy. He started building a crib and buying boy clothes, and then she lost the child. I wonder from there, their marriage was just like in shambles. No respect. He used to abuse her. Then there was these rules, they must wear these things. I don't know what they called those Muslim stuff. Yeah, the clothing. What do they call it? I don't know. Yeah, so that no showing your face, just your eyes only. Like, it was just her marriage was just horrible. So this book is also based in Afghanistan. So there were political wars, and the Talibans took over. And when they took over, everyone thought, oh wow, okay, maybe we're going to get a break for a change. Maybe they'll come and rescue us. They'll be worse than the Soviets that were in power before. So the Taliban came with their rules. I'm going to read you some of their rules. So singing and dancing was forbidden. Playing cards, playing chess, gambling, and kite flying were forbidden. Writing books, watching film, and painting pictures are forbidden. If you steal, your hand will be cut off at the wrist. If you steal again, your foot will be cut off. If you're not Muslim, do not worship where you can be seen by Muslims. If you do, you'll be beaten and imprisoned. If you are caught trying to convert a Muslim to your faith, you'll be executed. And then there's a special one for women. Attention, women. You will stay inside your homes at all times. It is not proper for women to wander aimlessly about the streets. If you go outside, you must be accompanied by a mahram, a male relative. If you are caught alone on the street, you will be beaten and sent home. You will not, under any circumstances, show your face. You will cover with a puka when outside. If you do not, you will be severely beaten. Cosmetics are forbidden. Jewelry is forbidden. You will not wear charming clothes. You will not speak unless spoken to. You will not make eye contact with men. You will not laugh in public. Imagine. If you do, you'll be beaten. You will not paint your nails. If you do, you will lose a finger. Girls are forbidden from attending school. All schools for girls will be closed immediately. Women are forbidden from working. If you're found guilty of adultery, you'll be stoned to death. Listen well. Listen well. Imagine you get rules like this in your own country. Obviously, you would want to flee. So everyone wanted to flee, and it was difficult to flee as a woman by yourself. Because remember, you're not supposed to be by yourself in the streets. And so they were trying to get out of the country. Some people were succeeding, but if you were caught trying to get out of the country, you will be jailed or nje. So it was hard living in Afghanistan those days. I hear it's still like that, but yeah. So in those days, it was hectic, hectic, hectic. And so Miriam is in this marriage. She's not happy, but she's just leaving because now this man is providing for her. There's this other teenager. She lost her parents from this war. They bombed their house, and she survived. Her name was Layla. So Layla, they took her in. Miriam and her husband, they took her in and they took care of her until her wounds were fine and she was back to her normal self. 14-year-old Layla, imagine. And now Miriam was old enough, like I think she was like 33 years old. Miriam, they'd just taken in Miriam, and her husband then wanted to marry this Layla. 14-year-old. Her husband is like 60 years old now, and she wants to make Layla his second wife. So eventually, Miriam was just heartbroken, but there was nothing she could do because this man calls the shots. So eventually, Layla agreed because she knew there was no way out. She just lost her parents, and now she was also pregnant because she had a boyfriend, and she was pregnant, and she just quickly agreed, okay, fine, let me get married to this old man so that he can provide for me because now I've got no one. Right? So then initially Layla and Miriam didn't get along. Miriam was like, no, you're here to take my man. But eventually they got along. They became best friends. And this book just talks about their friendship, how they endured so much from this abuse from the man. The man is abusive, and also the country is just like discriminating women. And yeah, it's painful. It's painful. But eventually at the end, because this man was so abusive to Layla and Miriam, they ended up killing him, and Miriam took the fall for it, and she went to jail. After 7 days, she was stoned to death. Like, wow. There is no positive story in the book. Like, all of it's just like, oh man, it is so sad. It is so sad how women are just treated in this country. Like, wow. But I can assure you this, you will not be able to put it down. Like, the stories are just so sad, and I just like the fact that the author now has an organization. Even though the author lives in the US, but he's got an organization that helps out in Afghanistan. So he's doing a lot. So from this story, we learned a lot of what is happening in Afghanistan. At least he's getting help for his people. I think that's the one positive thing that I can say about what's happening in Afghanistan. At least he's getting them some sort of help. He's getting donations. He's got a foundation. So he also talks about it in this book. But yeah, you will not be able to put it down. Like, it took me the emotions, guys. But mostly I was just like angry at why do women have to go through so much? Like, why? But yeah, read the book. Read the book. You will not regret. I can't wait to read more of this guy's book. Like I really loved his style of writing. I loved how he stands up for women's rights. Mostly men just don't talk about those things, and I loved how he talked about it, and the world knows what's happening there. And you know, so even though the characters are not real, but the story is very real. The story is very real. What's happening in Afghanistan, this book talks about it. So get yourself the copy. Remember, if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe. I love you all.